I can't eat the double packs, man. You gotta know when to hold them, know when to fold them.
It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And this week, we're planning out our Comic-Con at-home panel viewing experience, Mike.
Oh, we can only hope that it's just as fun as going to Comic-Con in real life.
We'll talk about that in a minute. Batman gets a Gotham spinoff. Again.
Yeah, I felt like I was, I know I've been in a quarantine and like time is like a flat circle and we're all repeating everything, but I was like, I feel like I've read this news before.
Oh, we've been down this road. We've talked about it before. We've got new trailers for The Umbrella Academy and The Boys we're going to talk about. Mm-hmm. And more.
Yeah, we're kind of like in this like mid to late summer like comic book like TV boon, because there's another comic book show that landed on Netflix that I'll kind of talk about here in a minute. But yeah, then we got the Umbrella Academy coming up and then The Boys. So luckily, people have planned ahead to give us comic book content, maybe before they knew the world was falling apart.
Yeah, and I mean, it's great to have stuff. I was talking to someone, they were like, we were looking at my Plex server last night, and they were like, "Oh, you get even like the newest releases." I'm like, "Well, if there were new releases, I would put them on here." But no, these are a few months old by this point. But
yeah, we're doing what we can over here.
Yeah, and then also Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Just on that note, talking about shit, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. wraps up pretty soon. I think it's got like the rest of July to go through. So.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I have the time to go back and catch up, but I feel like I've just kind of exited from the show officially now. But it is fun to just kind of go back and revisit like series finales, even if like you've kind of abandoned the show, because at least you can kind of see how they wrapped up the characters, even with minimal context. So maybe I'll do that. Just sit back and watch the series finale.
Well, the best part is, I mean, the last two seasons have been 13 episodes. So if you wanted to shotgun those, that's no different than shotgunning like a regular series. You know, back when it was running 22 episodes. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh god. So at least they'll have some variety there. But I need to go back. I'll probably wait till like close to the end and watch a little bit more. Just for everyone knows, if we have any issues today, I'm back onto a brand new computer. Mike had one a couple weeks ago. I said he couldn't have the newest computer anymore, so I had to get one. But I'm on a new computer, and everything's feeling pretty normal. But
yes,
just if anyone has any issues.
I can only assume you're a very overprotective father of this computer, because before we recorded today, you're like, oh wait, I have to check the weather. There's a storm coming. Mm-hmm. So I can only guess that you're afraid that a lightning bolt is going to come through the window and destroy your computer while you're recording.
Well, I wouldn't say through the window, but you never know with power supplies and surge protectors. How far will they go?
Oh man, I've been living cavalier my entire life with surge protectors. Like, the only time I've ever been plugged into one is just because the power strip just happens to have a surge protector in it. I didn't go out of my way to get it, because I've just never once run into a situation where a surge has destroyed any of my electronics. I mean, like, I guess, like, knock on wood. Do I have any wood around me? Hold on. Okay, knock on wood. But I have not blown up any electronics from, like, a rogue, like, bolt of lightning coming into my home. So I'm just going to continue my life that way, and let's see how it works.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, that's the thing. I've seen it happen to so many other people. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I need to watch this, because it's always usually when you first get it. You know, it's never years later when you need to upgrade. It's always right when you need it. So I've been really protective of that. Setting it back up has been a fun adventure. But we're back to business here. I'm just gonna jump into what we've been watching, Mike, because the list is the smallest list I think we've had in a while. And I took a bold move this week and revisited Man of Steel.
Yeah, I saw the tweet, Chris. I saw the tweet where we were all ranking our favorite movies.
To be honest, I literally forgot about every other DC movie in that moment. I'm like, I don't know what else there is.
Well, it was strange because I mean, Superfan Jim tagged us in it, and it was basically asking us, what's your favorite MCU movie, favorite like X-Men movie,
Sony, and this one, yeah.
Yeah, and I actually kind of forgot Deadpool was considered an X-Men movie, so I think I probably would have maybe picked that, but I think Logan is still a solid choice.
Well, we both pick Wolverine choices.
But I saw that people like in the thread were just kind of giving their own interpretation of what DC movies were, because like if I could pick any DC movie, I would have picked The Dark Knight, but it specifically said DCEU, so I'm like, I'm going with Wonder Woman, but then I totally forgot about Shazam, and I was like, oh, actually maybe I would have gone with Shazam. So interesting experiment.
Well, I would have probably depending on the moment. A lot of these are in the moment, right? Because we both put The Winter Soldier for MCU, but that could change tomorrow if I'm in a different mood, and like, oh yeah, I really liked Endgame or Infinity War, because those are both great movies. Like, you pretty much need Russo brother movies, but like Spider-Man, I forgot Into the Spider-Verse would count in Sony's thing, technically, which I would have chose that over Spider-Man 2. But like, at the same time, I'm like, I couldn't think of any other DC movie because I just watched Man of Steel.
So Man of Steel it was.
So it was Man of Steel. And to be honest, I watched it again. This movie is not that bad. I mean, it's got some points in it I'm not okay. I've verbally said this several times. I do not think Pa Kent in this movie is a beacon of hope and inspiration for Superman.
Oh god, it's the one part of the movie that always kind of nags at me whenever I think about the film. I'm always like, oh man, the score was amazing. Henry Cavill is just an amazing looking Superman. The suit's even really cool. I'm not I've seen a lot of people have been very divided on kind of the alien technology that that Zack Snyder invented, but I think it's all right. I would say it's unique
to it.
Yeah, it's unique, but it's just like every time he's like, no, don't rescue me. Let this tornado kill me. It was totally worth it to save this dog. I'm like, no, it's just like, no. Just save him. Just save your dad. You're going to be outed in the future anyway. It's just so dumb.
Here's the thing. His dad's like, I'll go get the dog. Don't send my indestructible kid who can go over there and just grab the dog real fast and not get stuck on anything. Don't send him because he could run back pretty quickly and no one would know.
Snyder is just like this master of creating these dumb moments that almost entirely ruin the movie, like the Martha moment, the Pa Kent tornado moment. It's just like, come on, man, these are so glaring.
Yeah, but the rest of it, I truly enjoy. I enjoy the Kryptonian fight scenes. Like,
that feels in the small town. That's cool. Yeah,
you can actually feel like the hits, like they're like strong people. The Zod wasn't really fleshed out as much as I wish he was. He'd have been great as a second movie villain rather than a first movie villain. But Michael Shannon acts the hell out of that role.
Michael Shannon's great.
He is so solid. And the way this movie, there is not every one of these shots in this movie is handcrafted to look a certain way or feel a certain way. In Man of Steel, like the way him and work with his photographers and cinematographers and director of photography, like everything feels really good in this, like the first time he like learns to fly and you can see like the ground kind of swirling around him as he takes off. Like, there's some really good stuff in this movie, and
nothing is so bad that it couldn't have been fixed in a sequel or in the next kind of Warner Brothers movie. I would say that's a good point. I mean, much like the Incredible Hulk or maybe any sort of errors that were in some of those early MCU films, everything could have been improved a second time around, but that's the problem. Nothing was.
Yeah, I mean, I actually want to go through Snyder's trilogy, or at least his 2.5 movies right now, because I'm just in the. I'm like, okay, this is technically a 3-part series, right? I want to watch them. Fun thing is, I went to HBO Max. I'd missed them. They'd been already taken them off HBO Max when I wanted to watch it. So I was like, oh, God. Why? You own it. You own the DC stuff. What? But anyway, I just want to say, again, as much shit as we give DC, there are some standout moments in these movies, and there are movies that we enjoy, like Wonder Woman. I mean, I think Aquaman to me is probably a pretty good one to watch, and Shazam even, like.
I mean, I bet there's an amazing like 20-minute DCEU fan cut that's on YouTube that has all of the great moments in it, like all the visually striking stuff, and then you don't have to worry about all the kind of maybe less than stuff around it.
The best part about Man of Steel, and I will even say this about Batman v Superman, is it doesn't feel studio driven. Like, Zack Snyder, he made choices we don't agree with, but those are very obviously his choices. And his designs and everything is his. Like, when you go and watch, I mean, what we kind of saw out of, like, Birds of Prey a little bit, like, it feels like it was kind of a more studio-mandated movie than it could have been. And there are other movies, we've watched that are very much, like, in comic book world, Hellboy, right? I enjoyed it for what it is.
Wait, which one?
Well, the most recent one,
the
one
David Harbour Hellboy. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
the one that nobody watched. So like again, there are things I enjoy, but it feels like there's studio moments in there, like okay, you need to make this CGI. What's his name? Ian McShane, and it looks awful because like the studio's like, you have to have this, do it quickly. But at least Man of Steel and Batman v Superman is like, Zack Snyder's making choices that we don't agree with, but there's a voice here and a direction, and the DCEU after these has no voice or direction. They're like it's not like there's a Kevin Feige behind the wheel. You know what I'm saying? We've talked.
It was the beginning. It was the first one. It had nothing but hope, much like the theme throughout the film. It had nothing but hope in front of it, and unfortunately, here we are.
I will say, I think some of the standout moments of this movie are due to Christopher Nolan actually providing the story for this movie. I don't know if you remember that, but Christopher Nolan was a producer because this was maybe going to live in his Batman universe.
Oh, yeah. That was such a weird moment, like when the Superman movies were coming on the coattails, of these Batman movies. And Marvel was going very kind of bright and funny and comedic relief and just like lighthearted, enjoyable characters. And then Man of Steel was coming out, and they were just like, oh, I think they're going to lean into the Batman gritty and kind of capitalize on that world. It's just weird to think of a time when we were still kind of vibing off of Nolan with these movies.
Right. Well, it was a very interesting 12 to 18 months there, because Avengers had come out, blown away the box office, right? Like, at that time, could you think of a better movie off the top of your head?
When we were exploring that tweet just a few minutes ago, after Winter Soldier, I'm always just kind of like, maybe it is the original Avengers. That the moment that that film gave me, I still remember for the first time in the theater. So
yeah. Later that year, we had The Dark Knight Rises, which is people were very divisive on as well. Then we had Iron Man 3, which made probably the most money out of like all the Avengers movies at the time, but very divisive as well. And then Man of Steel. So it was like a very weird, like trying to find the footing of what comic book movies are today in that like 18 months there with these movies. But I think Man of Steel, even watching it later, it's still really, really fun to watch. And I do enjoy it of those three probably the most, but I want to revisit Batman v Superman as soon as possible, just to kind of see, what has aged well and what has not aged well.
While it's still fresh in your brain.
Yeah, while it's still on HBO Max before they take it off of there. And the Ultimate Edition's on there, Mike, so I don't have to pay for it. So
hey, there you go.
I'm ahead of you. What have you been up to? You've been watching some stuff here. I only know one of these names because I've had about a dozen people ask me about one of these. The other one I don't know.
Yeah, so this will be a pretty quick Quaranstream corner over here. So I want to start off with a film, a Hulu original film that just landed, I believe, this week. I don't know if it was technically Friday or if it happened earlier, but there's a film called Palm Springs. So this film comes from Andy Samberg and The Lonely Island, and that's all I'm going to tell you, because we went into this film knowing nothing. I didn't even read the description on Hulu. It's just as soon as I saw it, I hit play, and I think that's going to be one of the better ways to watch it. It's a very funny film. It's original in a certain way that they tell this story, but like I don't want to give anything away because there's this moment in the film where things kind of take a turn and you're not expecting it, and it's just like, whoa, what's going on? This is fun, but it's a really funny movie. It has some heart to it as well, and it ends a little unexpectedly than you think it's going to. So that's all I'm gonna say. Don't look up anything about it. Don't compare it to anything else. I don't know if you've heard anything about it, but don't say anything, Chris.
I heard of the title now that you mention it, but the last Lonely Island movie I watched was Pop Star Never Stop Never Stopping, which is a sleeper hit. Like, yeah,
I heard people really like that. I never got around to watching it.
It is. I don't know what you think of the movie you just watched, but that movie is an amazing comedy that is a sleeper hit. That if you get a chance to watch it, it's gonna blow you away how good it is.
Let's see here. I'm checking the Just Watch app right now for Popstar.
Don't get Mike started about Just Watch app this week.
It looks like it's not streaming anywhere right now, but I did just delay 2 Amazon shipments to Thursday instead of Monday. So I will be getting $4 in Amazon Video points, or whatever they're called, for delaying my shipment. So maybe I can just rent this for free over there.
Or you got your good buddy Chris.
Oh yeah, that's right. Chris Flicks over there.
Yeah.
So yeah, Palm Springs. I'm not going to tell you anything else. It was a fun time. We actually just watched it this morning. And second, over on Netflix, just the other week, a show came out called Warrior Nun, which I did a little research when I first watched the trailer, but I've kind of forgotten all of the finer details. But it's based off of like a 90s comic book. I don't remember the imprint. I don't remember who published it, but it goes by a different name. But it's about like these nuns that are basically warriors. They're trying to kind of like protect the human realm, I believe, from demons. I'm not exactly sure what the plot is because I'm just going totally off of the TV show, so I don't know the finer points. But we gave it the college try of 3 episodes, and I think my wife's into it a little bit more than I am. But from my point of view, I'm 3 episodes in, and I'm just really bored. There's kind of one kind of exciting moment where they show a creature from hell in episode 2, but beyond that, I mean, none of the characters are grabbing me too much. The story seems almost overly complicated. Like, I don't know if they're just trying to be super faithful to the comic book and including all of these, like, little things that I think are just bogging the story down. But, yeah, I'm just really not digging it. I know it's been in the top 10 on Netflix, so obviously people are watching it. I haven't looked up really any critical receptions to it, so I don't really know what the vibe is out there in the world. But, you know, possibly it could get more entertaining. But, you know, I'm on episode 3, and, we just finished it. I'm just like, I'm just not digging it. I'm just kind of bored. So maybe things get turned up in the second half of the season. Maybe that's where they saved all their money for a lot more cool nun fights. But, I mean, there's a nun that has 2 shotguns. There's a nun with, like, a glowing sword. They have one of the nuns has like a halo in their back that gives them unique powers that's kind of passed down, kind of like the Avatar in Avatar: The Last Airbender. But it's a mixed bag for me over there. Yeah. So if anybody out there is watching Warrior Nun, I want to know what your opinions are. I legitimately want to know.
I've had a dozen people ask me about this show because it's a comic book and it was published. I looked this up because I was familiar with the name. But it's called like Warrior Nun Ariella, which is like the country or the world it's in.
Oh, I thought it was maybe the name of the main character. Okay.
No, so like the characters are like there's like Sister Shannon, and then like you'll see like those they have like their own like they only do this like 3 shots or once every 2 months. This isn't like a weekly or a monthly book that you're familiar with. Mm-hmm. There was like there was other ones and they had different. They focused on different ones, but like they called them different things. There was like Crimson Nun, Warrior Nun Frenzy, Warrior Nun Day, stuff like that. Some anthologies that they didn't have the same name. I think the current run's like Warrior Nun Lazarus. So it's not like a normal comic book like you would, but it's got a lot of those. Like to me, it felt a lot like this most recent Van Helsing movie kind of thing, where it's like you gotta like get like special weapons or special powers and stuff like that. But it was done by Antarctic Press. I don't know if I mentioned it. It's not a normal publisher.
Okay.
So that's
why. I just saw some of the comic book covers, and it seemed very 90s to me, at least the art style. And the monster that does show up in episode 2 does look very 90s-inspired comic book, which I kind of appreciated. I thought looked really cool. So, I mean, there's might be something in there that you really like. So, if you're out there watching Warrior Nun, tune in. Let me know what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was also some CDs that came out with this when it was coming out. So
CDs.
It had like a cult following way back when. So that's it's cool. It's kind of coming back a little bit there. Let's jump into the news, Mike. We're gonna talk Comic Con at Home, which is next week. Believe it or not, this coming Thursday. Sadly, it's the week after. So. What does that look like, and why am I sounding so dissatisfied with it? Well, the first and foremost, everyone should know there are no Marvel Studios or Warner Brothers DC movie panels this year, which will focus. We know this already. DC has their fandom. Marvel just throws a panel up and says, "Yo, we're making some announcements." Everybody tunes in. So I don't expect to hear a lot out of Marvel until they actually can do Black Widow, unless they want to say something on their Disney Plus panel about their upcoming shows. So I don't think we'll hear anything about the movies for a minute. But we could talk. I think we might talk about. No, there's no movies later. But so that's a little disappointing all around, right, Mike? That's the fun of going to Comic-Con. Getting sunburnt for hours.
Yeah, that's the primo get. Those are the panels that you wait in line forever to get into. Is Warner Brothers and Marvel, and I'm not surprised that they're not going to be there because they don't need Comic-Con if there's not a physical location.
Exactly. They can definitely hold their own. And Fandom seems like it will be like the replacement for this kind of thing for Warner Brothers. So we'll see what Marvel will do. However, we do have Thursday, Friday, and Saturday schedules. Saturday's kind of gone up today. I don't have it in here because this is, I think, the first time in a long time Comic-Con has been focused on comic books rather than movies and TV shows, Mike. And there's a lot of that, but there's no highlights that I haven't seen here. But I did pull out a couple from these long list of panels they're doing all day. Thursday, they will have a boys panel. And
all right, good.
If you remember last year, they had like a whole The Boys section of a block downtown.
Yeah, they did. I remember that.
So they were very excited about that. And we didn't even know what it was back then. We were like, what's this? So that's good that they're going to be kind of doing that before season 2 drops on September 4th. We'll talk about that next. You watched the show Superstore?
Yeah, I watch it.
There's a panel on Superstore. I only put that on there because I know you watched it.
Yeah, that'll be interesting because one of the stars of the show was announced to be leaving after this season, and they were kind of writing her off of the show. But then, due to the pandemic, they kind of had to wrap the season early. So now, like is she going to be coming back, to film stuff next season? I don't know. Maybe we'll get some answers.
Yeah. We'll fill you in, and I'll tell you, if you want to know more about how to do comic books in the classroom, how to break into comics, what a comic book is, comic books during the pandemic, so on and so forth, Thursday.
What is a comic book? Yeah. Maybe this comic book convention will let me know.
101. Free panels. Come learn what comic books are. So Thursday, that's really all I could pull out of that. Friday is a little more interesting because they have some Star Wars stuff here and they just says The Mandalorian. So I don't know if this is going to be like comic books, more reading material, expansions of the show. I mean,
it could be our first teaser trailer, even possibly. Mm-hmm. I mean, they obviously have stuff shot since it's going to be coming out later this year. So yeah, maybe we'll get a Mando teaser.
They could drop that pretty early. And the other part is Star Wars Publishing's coming up, talking about like what they're doing going forward. I think this will focus on what was it I forget what the Old Republic or whatever, High Republic.
Yeah, that weird trailer that they dropped a few months ago, where they're going to be focusing on that.
Probably talking about where that is, some of the characters, some of the extra media. I'd love to learn more about that. There is a Friday. It's called a Zoom with Joss Whedon. So, I don't know if this is a good thing or not today after the stuff from this past week or two, Mike. But Joss Whedon will be there.
Yeah, he's been going through some stuff recently. He's usually done like a panel in Ballroom 20, which is one of the bigger panels at Comic-Con. Maybe once a year, he just kind of goes up on stage and he just kind of starts the Q&A right away, and he just kind of answers questions. I don't know if it's going to be quite like that, but we'll find out.
I believe, doesn't he have a show? Is it called The Nevers coming up?
Sure. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's why he's there. He has a new HBO show coming up, with like a Victorian era kind of thing, and that's why he's doing this more so, less so to just be about Joss Whedon. I think he actually has something going on with this. What would really blow everyone's mind is if they announced finally that Dr. Horrible sequel that they never made.
Yeah, maybe that's how he redeems his character.
And they do it via Zoom. It's all web-based singing, Mike. That's how they do it. But the last thing is, if you're into The Walking Dead, there's literally every, I think, hour or two, they have a whole panel on The Walking Dead TV shows that are still going on.
God, it's still going on. This show never ends.
I don't know why you're exasperated. You're not even watching this. This doesn't affect you.
I don't know. I think the only thing that annoys me about it, which it doesn't need to annoy me at all, is like I've listened to like interviews and podcasts with Robert Kirkman before, and he seems like a really talented, like smart guy. But it just like even as like early as long ago as, what word am I looking for? Like maybe 1 or 2 years ago, he was like kind of still defending the show that The Walking Dead was, and it's just like, dude, haven't you noticed that the quality of the show has dramatically like plummeted?
Does he even do anything on that anymore? Because I know he started it, but then he finished the comic book.
He's still involved. He's obviously not writing scripts, and I'm sure he's not. I'm sure he's not, reading over every single line, but I bet he's there at the beginning of every season when they're kind of breaking stories.
Yeah, I mean, he's there for the paycheck at this point. I mean, if he's able to create something that's got such a cult following, that's cool for them. But I don't think they've even finished filming or airing the final season because of they were filming during the shutdown. So I believe I forget her name. She played Maggie in the show. Lauren Cohen. She's coming back for the next season. Is one of the things. So season 11. They're also got Fear the Walking Dead, which is somehow still happening. And
don't
then
they have a third one also?
There is. It's like the one that's like talking about humans during the middle of the apocalypse kind of thing. I just had it pulled up the spinoff here. World Beyond is one of the panels. So if you want to talk about when they start doing the World Beyond, this will probably be it. And I think if they're going to finally do those Rick Grimes movies, they need to talk about them now. So
yeah, that's true. They're losing steam.
Yeah. And then I looked at the Saturday schedule, and nothing really stood out to me yet, but I'm hoping to get maybe some more like surprise announcements over this week, Mike. Like maybe they were just like kind of gave it a vague name and I didn't realize it. So I honestly, I was hoping to get a lot more stuff, but I think I'm just going to have and tune in live, but I think I'm just going to have to do the play-by-plays this year. The post-con wrap-ups, if you will, for Comic-Con. I know they're scrambling to fill these holes, but what does that mean for everybody else, What does that look like?
We're less than thrilled.
Less than. But that's okay, because we just talked to the Top Show. We got some new comic book movie or series to watch later this summer, the back half of the summer, and one of those is The Boys. From Amazon Prime.
Yes, you convinced me to watch this trailer because I'm trying, not to spoil myself too much before the content comes out. But this brought out the red-blooded American child in me that was raised on violence in television and the gore. I just forgot how much fun it is watching superheroes blow each other up, watching things splatter and explode all over the place. I was like, this is bringing out a very strange part of my psyche, but there's a lot of that in this trailer, and it's very fun.
Yeah, I wouldn't say they're superheroes. These are just super people at this point.
I thought you were going to say super zeros.
No, I'm not. That's low even for me. This trailer very, very gruesome, very, very interesting because I didn't get the impression when the last season ended that Carl Urban's character would be back and be so, I guess, self-assured. Or he looks like when he shows up, he's got a trick or two up his sleeve, and I want to know what that is.
Yeah, he's always got a trump card ready to go.
Yeah, and it shows a couple flashes of the Seven, and then it's got the new character. I forget what's her name is, but I did not see any of the Speedster character from last season. Who they kind of ended on a cliffhanger with him and the blonde girl who's working with the boys. So I don't think he'll live.
Yeah, I guess we'll find out. But yeah, I'm excited to see who this new quote unquote hero is, because she's played by Aya Cash, who starred in a show that me and my wife really liked called You're the Worst. She played a character called Gretchen. So I'm looking forward to seeing her play something else, because it looks like she's going to be playing a very different character from what she was in that TV show. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to The Boys. I'm bummed that I have to wait until September, but I guess I'm not going anywhere, so I can just sit around and wait.
Yeah, and that's almost exactly a year since the last one, right? That's 1 year, pretty close, I feel. So
yeah, because I believe the first episode dropped nearly right around Comic-Con, if the whole season didn't drop all at once. But it was very close to the tail end of Comic-Con, so I would say it's almost a little bit more than a year.
Yeah, a little over, but it's really close. I'm impressed that they were able to turn that around so quickly. And this is, a show, I think, written and a show run by Eric Kripke, who's known for his Supernatural show that ran for well too long.
Bajillion years.
Yeah, bajillion. I think is it over yet? I don't know. But I'm excited to watch this one, and get back to that on September 4th on Amazon Prime. The other show I'm probably more excited about personally is The Umbrella Academy, which our season 2 trailer is linked here. Mike did not watch it, but it seems to revolve around the second novel, the second volume, which, Mike, no spoilers because the books are different than this, is the Kennedy assassination. And if you remember, I believe they showed that in the first season. Was number 5 was sent back to assassinate
Yeah,
and then he left.
the only downside for this being so long, because this dropped, I believe, in February last year. I thought it was like a Valentine's Day treat, if I remember right.
Yeah.
If not, maybe March. It was definitely early 2019. So now it's been like close to a year and a half when this drops. I'm definitely gonna have to go on YouTube and find somebody that did what happened last season on the Umbrella Academy, because I'm sure they've cut one themselves, but it's not gonna be as long as I want it to be. So I've already forgotten like a million things that happened, and on top of that, not just remembering what happens, but remembering what character knows what, because there's that moment like halfway through the season where things kind of reset and you kind of forget who remembers and what happened when. So
it's funny because you didn't watch this trailer, but they go through what each person does in this trailer.
Okay.
It's really funny you mentioned that, because like I was just like they do that. What's cool about this, and Mike doesn't watch the show, the effects and the action scenes look way more increased this season. Like they took the budget and went up.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta assume that Netflix is like, oh, this is really working, because I remember when this dropped, we were comparing the ratings to like the other #1 show on broadcast, which was The Flash, and this was like blowing The Flash out of the water. Yeah. So I mean, this is a bona fide Netflix hit, and I can only assume it's going to be even more popular for the second season.
Mm-hmm. I'm very excited to see. I'm a big fan of their music choices in the first season. And I'm really excited to see what they kind of do with this, and having all the characters, and knowing that they've traveled through time at the end of the first one. What does that look like? What do they even do? Like what's gonna happen in this? So yeah, I'm excited to see what goes on here, and that's at the end of this month, July 31st on Netflix. So I'm very, very excited to watch that at the end of this month. We got news about the Sandman. Hold up, Mike. It's not the Netflix Sandman. Pump your brakes. It's the Audible version, which comes out this month. The first teaser of the audio for this has dropped, and it's got James McAvoy as the Sandman himself, and this is taken from book 4 of Preludes and Nocturnes, if anyone's familiar. When Sleep, right? I'm blanking here. Goes to the demon realm to get his helmet back, which is an awesome scene, Mike, from the book, if you ever get a chance to read it. And then I instantly drawn to it. But this, I don't know if I'm sold on the voices. That's my concern about this. You listened to a little bit of it.
I'm not a big audiobook person, but it seems like they're almost like making a hybrid here that kind of connects a little bit with like a produced podcast, because the limited audiobook experiences I've had, it's a person that's just straight up reading the book. I mean, they might do different voices for a different character, or maybe if it's even more refined, they'll bring in different people to do different voices. But at least with this teaser, there's like sound effects and music and stuff in the background, so I don't know if that actually exists in the book or if that's just for like this teaser part of the trailer, but it sounds like this is a very premium experience.
Mm-hmm. I think my concern is, I don't think the voices, like, I don't know if they're putting on voices or just doing their regular, like, normal dialogue voices, because James McAvoy is very, very noticeable in this, and that's not bad. I think he does a good job. I was just hoping for a little more, I don't want to think about who's reading it as I'm hearing it, a little immersion, but it could also be that it's just taken from a clip. If we start from the beginning, maybe you get the whole vibe.
They should just redo the whole thing and bring in Tom Kenny, who does the voice of SpongeBob, and a million other people, and then he could just do like 1,000 different voices for all these characters.
Yeah, if only Mel Blanc was still around to do all the voices.
That'd be funny.
That he does on the old Looney Tunes stuff. So that's July 15th is the first part on Audible, and that's a part of Amazon. I don't know if everyone knows that. I had to find that out much later, that it was a part of Amazon. So check that out. When's the last time you watched Star Wars, Mike?
Oh boy, it's been a bit. It's actually been a little bit. I mean, I've been slowly catching up with Clone Wars, but it's at a glacial pace right now. The series, not the movie.
Very, very slow for Mike. Did you know that The Empire Strikes Back has been in movie theaters lately? And it has returned to #1 at the box office for the first time in 23 years this week.
The power of the quarantine.
Yeah.
Any movie that's in theater, they should just bring back. Remember, I talked about this on the podcast like a few weeks ago. The bizarre movie called Pat, where about an androgynous person, you never know their gender. They should just bring that back to theaters, and I want to see that headline: Pat, #1 at the box office.
Right. What
first
movies,
time ever.
What movies can we actually make turn a profit at the box office now?
Yeah.
I remember actually watching Empire in theaters. It was, what was that? The 97. They did them like a month each. Each one had a month for the before the prequels came back out. So I remember doing that, and I wish I had the opportunity to watch it again. However, I'm not going to a movie theater anytime soon. So that's sad I don't get to, but that's really cool that it's, when you look at the box office mojo, Mike, you get to see The Empire Strikes Back up there. So
hey,
so that's cool. Is there any other like Star Wars movie you wish you could go back and watch in theaters?
I mean, if they were the absolute original cuts, like the stuff that we have to dig up on the internet, but anything that they're going to put back in theater is going to be like the special remastered stuff that I'm just not craving.
Yeah, because those are the ones that would be the high def. Because like we talked about, they didn't do the 4K original for this one.
Ideally, what I want more than anything, it's not possible because we have not invented time travel, but I would love to go back to opening day of all of these movies and sit down with a crowd and watch these films. Like, it's just an experience that I can never really enjoy, but that would be perfect.
That's what you want to do. You want to go back and do that. I'm thinking, I'm going to get one of those inflatable drive-in screens and just pop it up on in front of my thing. I think we've talked about that before and how awful they really are, and you have to get a really good projector for that. But anyway, how about this? I'll just stay at home and watch some X-Men movies. Okay, guess where I can find X-Men movies now, Mike?
Disney Plus.
Disney Plus. They have finally their first live-action X-Men movie on Disney Plus. It's not all of them. We went through the list last week, but Days of Future Past, a lot of people's favorite X-Men movie, is now available on Disney Plus, and it was not edited. They left their F-bomb in and everything on that, Mike. Even Hugh Jackman's naked butt. Yeah,
you said butts, and I was like, what butt is in that movie? But okay, Hugh Jackman. There you go, Hugh Jackman butt. Which is funny considering that they censored somebody's butt. Was it the movie Splash?
Yeah, it was in Splash. They lowered the hair on that.
I'm guessing because that's probably what technically like PG. So they're just like, oh, well, kids could watch this because it is with parental guidance, but there's a butt in it. But, Days of Future Past is PG-13. Either way, the Hugh Jackman butt resides.
It does. It sits there in its full glory as soon as he travels back to the 70s in there. I haven't watched this one in a minute. Do you think they'll ever put the Rogue cut on there or just leave the regular?
Oh God, I never even saw the Rogue cut.
You want to? I own it.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll mail you the DVD. You can watch it.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've revisited some of this stuff, but much like a lot of stuff that gets canceled on Netflix, once you already know the series has kind of ended, your investment in it is kind of gone. Mm-hmm. But those movies are still solid, so there's still value there.
But see, I'm the other. I mean, it may be over, but if I want to put something on where I don't need to watch it completely, I can just do some background noise and watch it in between, like making show notes or working on some stuff for work. I think this is like that kind of franchise that's the perfect kind of do it, right? I've watched this enough. Were we doing a show when that came out? Do we have a date?
Oh God. It's hard to remember. Time, flat circle, all that nonsense.
Exactly.
But the great thing about this though, Days of Future Past, kind of like all the other X-Men movies, is secretly a Wolverine movie, and we do get a nice definitive ending to Wolverine. So you got to include this in your Wolverine rewatches.
Well, I think everyone really enjoyed the future scenes with the deadly Sentinels.
Those are badass.
I remember they took the old Sentinels to Comic-Con that one year. And they had the big Sentinels that they were like teasing building in the past with this, and it was such a disappointment when they actually didn't do anything in the movie. So I remember some things about this. We'll probably go back to it. We've talked a little bit about the Miles Morales game coming out for PS5, the upscale Spider-Man game, and PlayStation has revealed all the new cover designs for their new game system. They've swapped blue for white. Pretty much.
Proving once again that gamers will complain about literally anything.
Are there complaints about this?
I saw like some people in a thread that they were just like, "Oh my God, I can't believe they changed the banner at the top to white. I just don't like it. I'm just not going to like the aesthetics of this box sitting on my shelf." And it's just like, "Oh my God." It's just the discourse around it was just so mind-numbing. I just like that they had like a nice high-quality render of Miles' suit.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to concentrate on right now. Is that suit looks badass. He's got his Venom strike charging up. I like the fact that they made sure to include web behind him to remind you, yes, you still will be able to web sling.
Have you seen? This is in direct homage to the PS4 game. If you look at it, have you? I think you can put them side by side because notice the web is not coming out of his hand on this one. Like he's swung from it, so I think there's a way to put these images side by side to make it look like the web is Peter's kind of web and something like that.
That'd be cool. Yeah, but man, this suit is slick. It has like all these nice little embellishments, like around like the top of the knees, around the waist, and the elbows.
The lighting's great. I mean, this is a Miles suit through and through, and what they've done is simply, like they did with the first one, they told you what is this game about, Mike? Spider-Man. What do you need to know about him? He's got an electric punch and some web. That's it. That's all you need to know. And I don't mind that it's white. I mean, I still think, game cases are way too big. They could just be square size, right? Why are they gonna make them extra taller? You ever buy a Switch game yet? Because those things are like half width.
Oh yeah, those things are strange.
And I'm like, why? Just and you know what's in them? And it's an SD card. That's all it is. It's just to take up shelf space. So, I'm just sad they're a little big, but I think this is a really simple box and it's really effective all around. You can even see the city reflecting in his goggles. If you look at it.
Yeah, you can. You see some skyscrapers there.
So I think that's really cool. I think it's exciting. It's not going to be the only game to make me buy a PlayStation 5, but Spider-Man 2. We'll be talking then, Mike. Batwoman has found its new lead actress for the upcoming season 2 of the show. I'm gonna butcher this name. I think it's Javicia Leslie.
Sure.
I think it is. She will be taking over as the lead, like I said, and she'll be playing a new character called Ryan Wilder, who inherits the Batwoman cape and cowl in the season. So
I wonder if this character has any lineage in the DC universe at all, or is this just a brand new character, which might be the best way to go.
It is so far under this name. It is a brand new character.
That's probably a good way to, because they're solving a unique situation here.
Right, and Javicia, just for everyone else, because we can't see, she is an African American actress taking over. So it's not like you're getting an identical person playing this role, which everyone thought that might be the case. I think this is fine. I think this is good by me.
Yeah.
I don't watch Batwoman, but I mean, if they can get a good actress to take over the role, go for it.
I'm kind of curious on the aesthetics, just because the thing I like the most about these like CW shows is I always like to see when the costume gets revealed. I like to see like what they do, because it's always the most iconic part of the superhero is like what they look like. So I mean, what's one of the most iconic parts of Batwoman's costume is the long red hair that comes out of the back of it, and this new actress has a totally different type of hair. It's a very curly hair. So I'm curious, are they gonna incorporate that into the suit, or is she gonna stick with like the longer straight hair? I think it would be cool to see an interpretation that works with her type of hair. That would be really cool, because then it's like you're developing like a brand new character from head to toe. And yeah, I always enjoy the visuals when they release new stuff over at the CW. Even though I might not be watching it, I always like to check in on the suits.
Yeah, I think the CW, they have they make, like you said, they make stuff work with very little. Like they don't have the huge budget that the streaming service shows have. They're working 22 episodes a season, 23 sometimes. So they've got to stretch that a little bit, but they do put a lot of care and practicality into the suits, which is awesome. Which brings us to our next point. The CW will be inheriting Stargirl, the show, permanently for season 2.
Yeah, I think that just proves to you the DC Universe app is on the outs, so to say, or to be absorbed by something else. But it makes me think that, is there a strategy here? Is HBO Max kind of saying, we only want to make sure the really premium stuff really ends up migrating over to HBO Max, and anything that kind of seems like CW-ish, we leave on CW,
Well, it could also be one of those things is like, the CW... What do they have left over there? They didn't really replace Arrow with anything, right? Because the not Gotham, the Sirens, was it the Sirens show that they were talking about? And that isn't coming to fruition because they're not filming anything right now, right? So what do we put on your service? Well, we have Stargirl, maybe HBO was like, well, we don't see value in this. It's not bringing us in new customers to DC Universe. You can just have it. Because this very much feels like a CW show when you kind of look at it a little bit.
Usually what the answer is, it's the most obvious one, and probably what it is more people watched it on the CW than they watched it on the DC Universe app. So, I'll take my tinfoil hat off and maybe go with that theory of that's where the audience is, so that's where we're going to put it.
Yeah, exactly. And then maybe DC Universe, because they're going under, they're like, well, we can either cancel it or you can just kind of take over production. And they have a slot now. The Arrow's done, and they didn't fill anything with it. So Stargirl will be it. We get to see some more of, not Owen Wilson, the other one, Luke Wilson, in a superhero kind of universe. So I'm excited to see Owen Wilson and Loki whenever we get a look at that. I would love to see
I forgot he's going to be in there.
Yeah. So those Wilson brothers, they're taking over the superhero worlds, at least the television versions.
They're trying.
Yeah. And probably one of the biggest announcements this week is they have confirmed that there will be a show on HBO Max called Gotham PD.
Wow, yeah, this was surprising.
And this is a direct spin-off from the upcoming The Batman universe and will serve as a prequel to the film in its current state.
Man, this is a lot to unpack here. Because I guess that they're going to show you that this Pattinson's Batman is sticking around. It doesn't seem like that they're just going to try to test this one movie and see how it works. But obviously, we've seen DC put the cart before the horse plenty of times. But HBO Max is a very hungry streaming service that wants anything that it can get. So I'm not surprised that they might be getting some offshoots here. But yeah, I guess all you think is, whenever I think of a Gotham show, much like the Gotham show that we just kind of wrapped up earlier before, is like, I want Batman. Like, if I have a Batman show, I want Batman in it. So, how much Batman are we gonna get? Is Robert Pattinson just gonna show up in the season finale, much like Nick Cage showed up at the end of the first season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Like, is he gonna be part of the show at all? And
you mean
also
Nick Fury.
Isn't our
Nicolas Cage didn't show up?
Not Nicolas.
That'd be. Ooh.
Yeah. Ooh, that'd be fun. But isn't Jeffrey Wright our Commissioner Gordon, right?
Yes, that's correct. So
I would assume that this is going to be Jeffrey Wright's show, right? He's got to be leading the Gotham PD.
Well, it depends on how much of it. They have not said how much of a prequel it is, but Robert Pattinson will not be in this show day to day, right? Is this a young Gordon when he was just a regular police officer?
We just did young Gordon.
I know we did. So it could be that Jeffrey Wright, who's very popular in the stuff he does. Maybe it's right beforehand, but how many seasons of that can you get out of it, Mike, if it's right beforehand? Or is the first season a prequel, the second one is in between movies? That's fine with me if they want to move it forward.
It's just like every comic book, every hero, they all have mythoses where you can expand on them and have offshoots. Comic books have just been doing it forever. But like, what's like the one superhero that has had more exposure than any other hero out there? And it's Batman. So it just seems like, is this the character that we really need to dive more and more into his world? I think everybody gets Gotham. We all know what it is. It's just basically like a grungier New York. It's like, I've never been to New York in the 90s, but I always hear people say like New York in like the 70s, 80s, and 90s was just like this awful place to live, and you could get stabbed around any corner, any alley. So just that's what Gotham is. And apparently it's right across the bay from Metropolis, depending on what world you're living in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I guess I'm only cautiously optimistic because it's gonna have buku bucks behind it, right? I mean, you don't make a TV show based off of like a mainline Batman movie, then you don't give it a lot of money. If Jeffrey Wright is the main star, I mean, you got to treat him right because he's basically over here, with Westworld, so he has a good HBO relationship already. So I couldn't possibly put it in a better location already, but I just hope it's not less than, it's just kind of like, where's Batman? Like, I don't want to watch a Batman movie without Batman, and it just kind of seems like a Batman TV show. At least Gotham, the Fox show, eventually gave you Batman. They worked to it,
Well, Gotham at least had the villains it was trying to do something with, right? Because you can do something. This doesn't mention any villains, because we don't know what this universe is. I think also that it being, Gotham's descent into criminals and corruption as a descriptor, nobody cares. Yep, you can start literally any Batman movie just like Batman Begins, where he's in the underground of Gotham, and it just looks shady, and you're like, yeah, this isn't a place you want to be, right?
Yeah.
Batman's parents got stabbed in the alley of a movie theater. Of course, is corrupted and full of criminals.
We haven't seen the Marvel Disney Plus shows yet, but we have yet to see an example where a TV show or a serialized kind of superhero world connects with the broader movie world. So you can see like why you wouldn't be like so plussed by going like, okay, is the season finale of Gotham PD gonna dovetail, like, you know, season 2 or season 3? Is this gonna dovetail into the next Batman movie? Like, are you gonna have a better experience if you watch it all together?
Well, they've tried that with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and didn't work out. Now, the difference is the Marvel stuff is they actually have their main title characters in the shows that are moving back and forth. If there's no Batman in this, there's no Batman to move across, it kind of feels just like the last Gotham we just literally got at the same time. The other factor to consider is here, their intent, this is a direct quote, intent to launch a new Batman universe across multiple platforms. What does that mean? Is this Batman not a DCEU Batman? Since it's not a Justice League universe or a shared DC universe?
And what's another platform? If you're doing television and you're doing TV, like, what is it going to launch, a video game, or like what's it launching outside of that? The only kind of cool idea that popped up into my head is just like, okay, if you're not sending Robert Pattinson to the HBO stage, maybe whoever Robert Pattinson is fighting in his Batman movie, you know, he captures him and he goes to jail. Let's just say it's the Joker. You know, it's probably not, but let's just say it's the Joker. He captures the Joker at the end of the first the Batman movie, and he goes off to jail. Obviously, Batman movies are always breaking out of jail all the time. Maybe season 2 of Gotham PD is Commissioner Gordon trying to make sure that the Joker doesn't break out of jail. Maybe there's like this weird kind of like Hannibal Lecter where he keeps visiting his cell, and then you get whatever big star is cast as the Joker in this universe. You get to see that big star in every episode of like season 2. You know, that could be a way to kind of send bigger stars down the pipeline if we can't have Batman, you know, but who knows? I mean, like, it's just so funny. Last week we talked about Matt Reeves selling that show to Quibi, and now he's just selling stuff to HBO Max. Yeah. I mean, that guy's just like he's just cashing checks every week.
I don't know if he's selling this. I think maybe they're like, we want to make something more. We want to do what Marvel's doing with Batman. But the thing is, there's also I always forget this. Zoe Kravitz is Catwoman in this movie and universe. Very active from the get go in this. So maybe they want to play with that a little bit. I could see her taking a television kind of roll down the road or splitting off into that. But there's not really... What other heroes does Batman work with other than Robin? And this Batman doesn't seem like he's going to have a Robin. Right?
Yeah, Robin, I think canonically what Robin would be like an elementary school kid. He would just be a child. I mean, I know Robin kind of is a child, but like even more so.
Yeah, I would say at most a 16-year-old Robin alongside Robert Pattinson. So... I don't know what their intent is here, but it just seems like if they would have said Batman sequel, you would have had me. Batman prequel, we just did this. We literally just did this. It was the same. It was Gotham and the police department. It was Jim Gordon all over again. You know, time's a flat circle. Like, it's repeating itself. Like
Chris's feathers are ruffled.
Yeah, I'm just getting confused. That's all. And I don't get confused very often. I can usually take most of this stuff. Let's just switch over here to J.J. Abrams and his DC work. He's apparently developing a new live-action Constantine movie for Warner Brothers.
Okay.
And I'm going to take this... Maybe this could have been one of those rumored ones we talked about last week. Because this could have... The notes where this could have the same feel as his Justice League Dark HBO Max show he's working on. In Zatanna movie, now, if it's not Zatanna, maybe it's Constantine instead, or a team-up movie of those two. Because they've been known to work together.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like J.J. Abrams is definitely interested in this dark side of the DC universe. I'm curious if this builds up to anything, you know. Is this just going to be a standalone DC dimension, you know, that we've been talking about that doesn't interact with anything else? You know, eventually in season 4 and 5, it casts its own Batman and Superman, so these people have, like, bigger baddies or bigger goodies to fight or team up with, you know, whatever ends up happening there.
Their own Black Adam.
Yeah, and it's just like, and is this technically in the same universe as the Green Lantern show that's ending at that's landing at HBO Max? I just have no idea. Much like you, I'm very confused because, like, you know, what's the buy-in here? Like, is this if this is just a standalone thing under a microscope? You know, it's just less exciting to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, if Abrams is working on all these things, I think they'll all be connected, and I don't know if they'll go backwards into the larger universe if they don't want to. It could work out, and you know, they could have like this own little supernatural dark spooky kind of vibe going on where they don't have to go do anything, but maybe down the road, you know, we see this Infinity War, you know, like where Guardians was standalone, Avengers was standalone, eventually they cross paths, right?
Yeah, that was the fun part, always imagining. Like, I know the whole MCU like started kind of just amazingly without some of these big characters like the X-Men or Spider-Man, but it seems like now finally they're going to be crossing over with them. But it's just kind of weird, like, imagine Marvel trying to make its own standalone universe where you're going to get all of these characters that are never going to cross over with Iron Man and Captain America or any of these other characters. It's just going to be this random offshoot. And it's like, oh yeah, that was all the TV shows. And we all saw how that went.
Yeah. Well, I think that, yeah, you have dual parentship on those down there. My favorite article today was like, who played the Kingpin? Vincent D'Onofrio. He's like, doesn't know if he'll return as a Kingpin. He's not. He's not coming back. Like, that's done. Like, stop making
that just
clickbait.
goes to show you how these actors just don't know anything. Like any just nerd off the street could just tell Vincent D'Onofrio to just stop waiting by the phone. He's not coming back as the Kingpin because, as we all know, actors only know what they know from the script. Like, no one ever tells them anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, their contract says he might be contracted to do with another season or something, but like, there's no guarantee it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. So could be one of those things. But speaking of Constantine, before I forget, Keanu Reeves will be at a San Diego Comic-Con at Home panel to celebrate the 15th anniversary of Constantine.
That would be an interesting movie to revisit. It's been a long time since I've seen that film, but I remember I saw it in theaters and I was like, yeah, this is all right. You know, this is fun. I mean, I don't know exactly where we go from here, but you know, I sat down for 2 hours and I was entertained. But I guess that wasn't enough. I don't know if it didn't make enough money or if maybe Keanu didn't want to do a sequel or what happened.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think it did spectacular. I don't think it was R-rated, was it?
I don't know.
I'm gonna look this up now. I remember watching it because it had I always forget his name as the devil. I've got to pull it up here. I've got to pull. What's his name? The actor's name? Peter Stormare as.
I like how you assumed I would know that.
I thought you might. You know random things occasionally, but I don't have the box office here, the reception. I think it didn't really, it's like a 46% on Rotten Tomatoes, 50 out of 100 on Metacritic. So it's like a middle of the road kind of thing. But a lot of people were upset that Constantine, he wasn't the blonde haired guy from the comic books, like the fans at the time were like, meh. But, even, it's got Rachel Weisz and Keanu Reeves in it. You forgot Shia's in it, man. Remember? He was the kid.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
The thing I remember the most from Keanu Reeves' Constantine movie was the weird, bizarre crucifix shotgun he had. Uh-huh. That thing was cool. It had like a barrel on it, had a crucifix in it.
It's
like
fire
all
holy water or something.
Yeah, and it's like all gold too. I mean, that thing was badass. I don't know if that has ever shown up in the comic books, maybe like in the 90s or something like that, when big obtuse weapons were invented.
Well, Alan Moore, created Constantine and Swamp Thing. So of course this guy has he's not your normal comic book character. But I remember it was very much like, death and suicide and all sorts of like adult themes in here. I was looking up the rating, wasn't I? And I never really found the rating. So I'm gonna take a look at it here. But I think Constantine was fun, and I think Keanu Reeves, we're in the Counter-sans, we call it. He's in that video game Cyberpunk 2077 coming out.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He's got Matrix. He's got a Bill and Ted. He's all over the place. So I mean, I'm excited to see him kind of revisit that a little bit for that. So I didn't find the rating. Rating.
That's right. We'll let it.
Oh, it was R. That's why it was rated R.
There you go.
I was like, there's some really like there's blood and like cutting wrists and stuff in there. Like it's adult material. Like I didn't think they'd PG-13 that. So anyway. Justice League Rebirth. This is a rumored thing here that Warner Brothers is planning a Justice League movie that soft reboots the Justice League as we know it.
Here we go.
But here's the thing, Mike. We fucking have to. Ben Affleck is out, right? You can't have Justice League without a Batman, so you need some Batman. But they were going to include characters from the film, like, you know, who are doing popular, like Aquaman and Wonder Woman, possibly the Flash if that ever gets made, but also incorporate the new ones like Shazam, a new Batman, possibly, you know, Green Lantern down the road. So is that kind of what's needed for this?
Yeah, it makes you, it's like there's like two options up on a whiteboard there. They're just like, do we just move forward and just pretend like these things never happened? And we just have Wonder Woman and Aquaman and then Robert Pattinson's Batman just all meet up and we just pretend that none of the other films happen. We just play dumb and we move forward. Hopefully we cross our movies and the movies are really good that we make with them and people will just, you know, forgive it and we'll move forward. You know, or do we do what everyone's been talking about and do we do some sort of Flashpoint thing that just acknowledges all this crazy stuff has happened and then we just use like some sort of fantastical magic in canon to wipe the slate clean, you know?
Well, I think that, you know, Rebirth is a moniker for, you know, what DC did when they rebooted their comic books a while back. What if we do a Crisis movie instead? Because we watched the Crisis work on Arrow, right, and Flash. They acknowledge all of these things happen, but then they merge the best parts together at the end.
Yeah, I mean, really the only things that the only real attachments that these heroes have is basically their families / their love interests, you know? Like if we bring
Martha.
Like yeah, like if we bring over Henry Cavill's Superman, you know, what happens to his mother, what happens to Lois Lane, you know, how do those characters get killed off? Do they get moved over? And then you also kind of have to deal with these like kind of normal mundane questions of just like, okay, Lois, you're in a new dimension now. Is there already a Lois Lane here? You know, do you have to go reapply to work at the Daily Planet? You know, there's kind of weird things that you got to figure out and somehow acknowledge in the script. I guess you don't have to go 20 minutes into how does Lois Lane get a job, but you know, you got to write some sort of line of like, how do these new characters live in this new world, you know?
Well, I mean, they did that pretty well with Spider-Man after the blip, if you will.
Yes, with the advantage that they're in a very humorous tone in those Spider-Man movies.
Right, but I'm just saying, like, I think the other films will adjust them, but they don't have to do it immediately. Like that's future stories they could tell down the road.
And also with the quote unquote blip in the MCU, that was a shared experience of everybody on the planet, so everyone can openly talk about it. If they do like Flashpoint or Crisis or anything like that, is it just going to be the heroes that know about it? You know, like are only a couple people like going to know exactly what happened? Because if I remember right, I have dropped off of the CW universe, but when they did Crisis, I believe when they merged all of these worlds at the end, only the heroes knew what had happened. No one else really knew. Everything was just, you know, how it always has been. So yeah, there's a lot to work out, that's for sure. No matter what they do, there's a lot to consider.
Yeah, or they could just ignore it and move forward, which might be the best bet because then they don't have to do any work. They're like, well, this is the new Batman now. He's a little shorter than last time. You can just do Star Wars. Aren't you a little, you know, short to be a Batman?
Yeah.
And then move along. So Justice League definitely needs something before they do the next team up, but you know, I think they need to get more characters out there before they do this time.
I say it every week. As long as it's earned, you just got to earn these moments.
Put a movie out there before you build up to everybody.
Yep.
So, Tron 3 is back on track apparently at Disney with Jared Leto involved.
Tron is back on the menu, boys.
I mean, like I said, I just rewatched Legacy, right? A while ago, not too long, a couple weeks ago. I think it's fine. I think Tron's a great thing because, you know, even technology has evolved since Tron 2 came out. And what does that look like? Because they left that where they brought actually a robot into the real world, or an AI into the real world. What's the implications of that? What's the world look like with this, you know, ability to do so? And, you know, with the supposed I don't think it was destroyed. I think just the gateway between the worlds was destroyed. So I think there's some opportunity here. Jared Leto doesn't make me feel any better about it.
I mean, I'm pitching an idea here where some sort of bad organization gets a hold of that technology, starts bringing programs to life. They're making like a private army with it, and then
it's the Matrix. It turns into the Matrix.
Finn, and then what Finn's son? I don't remember his name.
Finson.
Legacy, whatever it was, and then Olivia Wilde, they go off on a mission to take down this machine and to stop them from making anything. And there's probably some sort of supercomputer that if they hit it enough, it destroys all the things that they created in the world, like a hive mind situation.
I think it's gonna be more of she's probably captured and experimented on.
Ooh, go darker with it. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, Jared Leto, he strikes me. I mean, if they take him out of literally what they did with what was the last movie he was in where he was blind and had the robots? That was Blade Runner.
Blade Runner.
They could put that same character in this. He wants to experiment with the robots and make the robots smarter and work for him. And this is essentially what she is. A robot, flesh and blood.
Yeah.
So
I think when these reports dropped, there was also word that Daft Punk could be coming back to do the soundtrack. Which, if this just gets me another Daft Punk Tron soundtrack, I'm okay with that. You don't even have to film anything. Just have them make the movie, and I'll be great.
Well, they could do that animated movie like they did for the One More Time.
The anime Daft Punk. It's never been more childhood for me.
It's never been more nostalgic for Mike. Until now. Until we talk about Power Rangers, Mike. Nostalgia attack.
Well, Chris, go on.
Yeah, exactly. The new movie reboot that they've been working on could actually be set in the TV show continuity, Mike, rather than try to create a new one.
Okay.
And then it could involve time travel and crossovers to go revisit some of these popular Rangers.
Okay, you gotta hire somebody that just is the likes of like Phil Lord and Chris Miller, somebody that can really lean into like the meta silliness of this world, that'll really like appreciate kind of the canon, but also just totally lambast it if they need to.
There are new Power Rangers comic books that deal with like alternate universes and stuff like that, like with the original. Like there's like Green Ranger who went to like win, and he was called like Lord Drakon in that universe or whatever. That shit is awesome. They turned that into like a video game, like Power Rangers something Grid. Like Attack of the Grid, I don't know what it's called, but that kind of stuff. The people who are writing those comic books should work on this wholeheartedly. They know the universe inside and out as well to make sure everything works.
Because I mean, I know you ended up seeing the last Power Rangers movie that they made.
Krispy Kreme. That's all I walked out there anyway.
You had a pretty positive reception of it, though, right? You thought that at least they had cast good characters. The story was all right. It
was a fun time, but like it didn't hold up.
And it's just like if they're being somewhat faithful to at least the archetypes and the canon and how like the teenagers get their powers, and then even that can't get going, you got to do something different and crazy. And you gotta lean into the market. You have nothing but nostalgia. You have generations of children out there that grew up on different types of Power Rangers that you can take advantage of here with a crazy movie that just includes them all.
It's like 25 plus years of Power Ranger shows, 2 movies. A lot of these actors still come back to the show sometimes, right? Or like travel under, like there's whole Power Ranger sections at Comic Cons that you can go visit these people. They are still living it up. People are still loving this. And if you can make it work and bring some of those people in, and just at the end it's just maybe a bunch of famous Power Rangers fighting each other, they're fighting the bad guys, wouldn't that look awesome?
Yeah, it's 3 words. It's a Spider-Verse, but Power Rangers.
Yes.
Just do that.
Exactly. So many Red Rangers and White Rangers and Green Rangers and Black and Blues and Yellows and Pinks. They'll have cars. I just want really good Zords, Mike. I want really good Zords.
Zords.
They can look blocky as hell. I don't want them to look real, but when they come together, they better look.
What's that? Oh man, what's that anime that I grew up loving?
Zoids.
Zoids.
You're one
make a
short.
Zoid. Make a Zoids movie. Come on.
They talked about it.
Oh man, the nostalgia. Oh man, I just googled Zoids and I'm getting like these intense flashbacks.
You looking at the Liger Zero?
Oh my god, this was one of those like animes that was ported over to the United States when I was a kid
to sell toys
and to sell toys, exactly. But also like none of the canon made any sense, because it was one of those things that like all of the characters and Zoids get like upgraded like in some sort of season, and then you lose the plot, and then it just stops airing, and you think, oh, do Zoids still even exist? And I don't even know how many episodes they made of this. I have not seen all of Zoids.
There are tons, I think 5 or 6 series of Zoids. But the one we watched, I think the one that came to America was like series 2. But I remember them because you had the White Liger Zero, and then he could get upgrades that changed his color and a couple of abilities. So you'd want to buy all those toys.
This was totally just the sell. I can't believe I didn't realize this back then. This was the sell toys.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm doing Google image search right now, just looking at all my old Zoid buddies that I haven't chatted with in a while.
That's fine.
Oh my god, there was like a dragon that had cannons and
well, that was the base, man. It was a lot like Power Rangers. They put the Zoids in that shuttle, and then Zoids like they come out and fight each other in these arenas, and it was pretty much a competition, like about. Can you imagine a video game like this, Mike?
Oh my god! I think I scrolled past a couple of things that might have been box art for a game, but who knows? It could just been fan made.
Yeah, but PlayStation 1 era video games aren't that good.
There's something on the Switch. It's called Zoids Wild King of Blast. You can buy it for almost $90. I think you have to import it. Okay, here's some screenshots.
I want to see the reviews before we get into this.
That's a Zoid. It looks.
That's a Zoid.
Okay, I finally found a game. It looks like a fighting game setup.
There's only 16 characters. I can't do this. I need more.
Man, I love our Zoids off shit here.
Anyway, we'll have to go get a theme for this section of the podcast as well. All right. We're going to switch over. Another video game getting a movie release, actually, good tie-in, is Monster Hunter with Mila Jovovich from Resident Evil fame. The film, I say next film, it's just the film, is pushed back to next year, from September of this year to April of next year. I think the September 4th date is also shared with another movie that they were kind of worried about anyway. So moving April amongst COVID shutdowns and its competition is probably smart for this movie.
Well, I think more importantly to note here is Zoids Volume 1, The Battle Begins on Amazon. The DVD is $99. There's only one left in stock, but Chris, I know you're worried. It's a hefty price. There's only one left. The VHS tape is available for $33.
You know what? There's a shared notes app we have, Mike, where you can just go type this in and it might appear one day.
Oh my God, Zoid's gonna do it right now.
Do it right now. All right, the last bit of news here. If you've read the book Ready Player One, if you've seen the movie Ready Player One, the unoriginally titled sequel of the book Ready Player Two will be out this November.
Oh man, I forgot about this news. Yeah, this happened earlier in the week, and I didn't even. I think the most incriminating evidence for the first Ready Player One movie is I tried to think back and I couldn't remember it. Like I remembered like one or two parts, but I was like, how did the movie end? What happened?
There was a DeLorean
in it. Wasn't Cyclops in it? And then like
Terminator.
I think I saw like there was like an Indiana Jones Honest trailer that came out, and they made some sort of joke about CG, and then they cut to the final battle from Ready Player One. I was like, oh yeah, that happened in that movie. So the first film to me is just so utterly forgettable that's not a good sign, and I feel like the only reason it's getting a sequel is because Steven Spielberg was attached to the first one, so if he doesn't direct the second one, he'll at least be a producer and they can still put his name on it.
This is not the movie. Again, this is just the book, which people love the book, and the movie did take some liberties, so maybe the book won't just be a all-out reference, hey, remember this nostalgia fest kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But again, no, this is not the movie. They'll probably greenlight a movie, but the novel will be out in November that they're working on. So,
well, I'm glad to know that we're still one step away from a studio making a mistake.
Yeah, one step. All right, Mike, that's our news for this week. Let's wrap it up and get out of here for the day.
All right.
No, you're not gonna.
This is the part of the show, Chris, where usually you'd ask people where they can follow me.
Well, I was gonna just have you go into it, Mike. We don't have to. You don't have to do it. I just figured let's wrap it up, and then you're gonna be like, okay, well, you can find me at. Where are you gonna find me? Where are you gonna find me at, Mike?
We're gonna find out if Chris cuts this out of the show.
I'm not doing it. This is staying the whole time.
You can find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram and Twitter, and you can read my webcomics at pickledcomics.com. Chris, people want to see where you are, what you're up to in the world. This nice little segue for you.
This nice little segue. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. You can find me on Twitter, Valdan, VALDAN, or Instagram, Valdan87. You can also head over to Comic UI. If people want to know more about the show, some of our reviews, listen to our older episodes, find out how wrong we are after that, or what things we've forgotten we've said, where can they find us at?
Oh, man. I love how this show always just goes off the rails at the very end of the episode.
With Zoids. I'm looking at Zoids right now, just to let you know, the transforming action figures.
That's what we can blame it on. I didn't get my segue due to Zoids, but you can visit superheroslate.com. You can find us places, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever. You know where we are. You're already listening to us. You're already subscribed. We got a website. Go there.
We're not gaining you in the last 10 seconds of the show.
We're on Facebook, Twitter. We're on social media. We're not on TikTok. because I'm not letting China steal all of our data.
Who's got time for that?
Slate,
Ain't nobody got time for that.
superheroslate.com/store. Chris, I think it's time we wrap this one up. Let me know if anyone's watching Warrior Nun. Do you also like Zoids? I had some Zoid toys. I don't remember if they were like models, like if you had to build them like a Gundam, or if they came pre-built, but I remember tactile feelings of Zoids. That's all I can say.
Well, we'll see what I can do for you, Mike. We will catch you guys next week. We're going to end this before it gets off real bad.
All right. Superfan, you know what to do.
Yep.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.
Like, I'm honestly open to spending about $50 importing candy a month, Mike, if we want to do it.